The beauty of jazz music is that ultimately it comes out as a form of self expression. And while there have been many fabulous jazz musicians over the decades, very few managed to elevate themselves to the pantheon of greats, especially in the guitar scene, where they truly have achieved their own unique voice on the instrument. There's a reason why people revere players such as George Benson as much as they do. There's a reason that players like Pat Metheny are revered by as many people as much as he is. And I think that John Scofield very much deserves to sit in that pantheon of greats, because John Scofield is one of those players who has his own unique sound on the instrument. He has a wonderful tone, touch, he's a wonderful composer, and he's been doing what he's been doing for an incredibly long time. So a couple of weeks ago, Jorig Steinek was kind enough to reach out to me and ask if I would be interested in letting people know about his upcoming documentary film called Inside Scofield. Now, this was kickstarted a long time ago, and you know, global pandemics kind of do this to people. It puts projects on the back burner a little bit, but the film has finally been released. In fact, it was released, let me double check that. It was released yesterday. I thought it made more sense for me to do this review after the film was out. I didn't want to tell you about it a week in advance. I want you to be able to go and check this out right now. So there is a link in the description where you can go and check it out. It's an absolutely fabulous film. In fact, here's a little clip from it.
I know people that are more talented than me that could never get it happening because they didn't somehow care. I'm not particularly coordinated, and I don't have perfect pitch, but the desire to work on it is really important. And to go through painful things where you don't do what you want, you can't do what you want to do in the music, and to not give up and to stick to it. It's probably like everything else in life, you know. You get the results if you put in the effort.
So as a player, there's very few places that John Scofield hasn't been. A band leader for many decades and appearing as a sideman with countless incredible artists, including, of course, Miles Davis, but to name a few other names, McCoy Tyner or Joey DeFrancesco. So a wonderful player with a unique voice on the instrument, and of course, that's the sort of thing that people crave when they're looking for a sideman. And you have to ask yourself, well, where does somebody like this get the drive to create such an original voice on the instrument? And there's no better place to find out a story like that than from the man himself. And that leads us to Inside Scofield. So the thing that I absolutely loved about this documentary is that it is told from John's perspective. That's incredibly important. It's really engaging. There are so many artists out there who have documentaries made about them. And really what you're listening to is a narrator telling you a story, and that's peppered in with lots of interview footage with other people who know them. And of course, I'm sure you can think of like the Ken Burns classic jazz documentary that's about 1,500 hours long. Although there's lots of information in there, what you really crave when you're interested in an artist is listening to them tell their story. And Inside Scofield is exactly that. It is told from John's perspective. It is John telling you all of these fabulous stories and giving you an insight into who he is as a person and what his daily routine, both as a musician outside of music, or as a person outside of music, and as somebody out on tour, and the things that they go through in their day-to-day routines. It's a genuinely engaging film, and I can't help but feel disappointed, and that's not really what you want to hear when I'm talking about a review, but I can't help but feel disappointed that there aren't more documentaries like this on other artists that I'm incredibly fond of. You know, sadly, we'll never be able to get something like this with a player like Joe Pass. And while there are a couple of Pat Martino documentaries, they don't come close to being as engaging as this Scofield documentary is. So I would urge Jorig Steinek to consider trying to create something similar for some of the other great jazz musicians who have limited time left to be able to create something like this. A video, a film on Pat Metheny, or a film on George Benson, or a film on Mike Stern would be fabulous, because the presentation on this film is absolutely wonderful. In fact, here's another little clip which I took from the film, which again I really enjoyed when I was watching it.
I'm not a mathematician, but your brain is part of it. The 12 notes and rhythm and diatonic harmony. It's not that much to understand. You've actually had a hard time playing that chord for a minute, and then you learned where to put your fingers, and your muscle memory was there, and then you didn't have to think about it. That's the weird one. Why is it that? And that thing that was theoretical and wasn't real to you becomes part of your vocabulary. It's like vocabulary, you know, we all have words that we know, and we use them in order to express ourselves. Doesn't mean it's going to be better, though.
Now, I know that gives the impression that this is maybe a theory-heavy film. It's absolutely not. You don't need to be a musician to understand what's going on. And I think, if anything, from the first clip that I showed you, it's relatively apparent that John's approach to music is even more philosophical than it is technical. And I think you know that just from listening to his playing. So it's really nice to get that insight. Now, if I have to levy any criticisms against the film, there's maybe 2 voice clips that are definitely used more than once. A couple of statements that John makes that definitely appear a couple of times in the film. I don't want to call that sloppy editing. I don't really know what it takes to go into directing and editing a film, but there were definitely a couple of little things like that did stand out to me. But those are the biggest criticisms that I can possibly throw at it. It genuinely is just a fabulous watch. So I would urge you to go to the link in the description and go and check out this film because it is worth your time. Sit and watch it with some other friends that you have that are fans of music, and you will absolutely have a good time. And most importantly, you will leave inspired. And that's really all you can ask for when it comes to any sort of home entertainment music thing, whether it be an artist concert or a documentary like this, or whatever it happens to be, educational material. If you can leave inspired, then it was worth your time. And I'm still inspired by this film more than a week after watching it. So go and check it out. Let me know how you get on with it in the comment section below. Thank you so much to the guys for creating the film and for reaching out to me and letting me talk about it. And look forward to engaging with you in that comment section. Much love. Talk soon.